Hey, dude, it's going good. How about you?
Good. Nice and busy, of course.
Good.
Always busy.
Pretty normal, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, let me see. I got Evans here. Oh my gosh, we're all on time. This is so cool. I have like a half fussy baby, so we'll see how he holds up today.
Good enough.
Yeah, he was up every hour and a half last night. Like it was just an
Oh.
absolute nightmare. It's fun. How's it going, Evan?
Going all right. I got my baby sleeping behind me, so we'll see if he wakes up.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Evan, I don't know if you got to it yet, but I finally recorded a Loom response to your Find Your Next. I have 99 plus notifications, so I'm trying to get caught up on that today. But I've been focused on like deep work the last 3 days, completely relaunching all of the onboarding. So if you said something, I have to catch up on it. But
No, I had a stomach bug yesterday, so I was
ugh,
completely dead to the world.
yeah,
But yeah, back feeling good this morning. So
that's awful. Our grandpa just went to the hospital for the same kind of deal, so he was throwing up. That was
yeah,
very humbling to care for someone elderly who loses like the ability to walk and navigating that, because I've done it with all my kids where they just like sit up and puke over
yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
But like as a full adult, I've never navigated that before, and then he ended up at the ER. He's doing okay, he's stable, but I hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, me too. I
It's
feel
the
so
season.
far this morning it's going good, but yeah, yesterday was a nightmare.
Excellent. And it's hopefully, I mean, it's excellent that today is less of a nightmare. Yesterday, I'm sure, wasn't excellent. But today, Lauren won't be here. Let me share my screen really quick. We'll jump in because I'm still rocking the free version of Office, so we have a nice tight window to work with. All right, there we go. Ignore that. Unpin that. Cool. So the whole goal for these discussions is for this to be as valuable as possible for all of you. Because we're like a small little group of four, including myself, there's also things I will naturally engage you all in my next, because I think that'll be fun. And then Lauren had a conflict with her kid at school. So she's out. Lauren missing. So I'll try to catch up with her this week. See if I can help her. But it's a pretty simple format. We'll just run if anybody has any wins. We'll take notes on that. If you're navigating any blockers in your journey, we'll kind of do that high level for everyone. And then we'll jump into Q&A with simple focus questions, simple focus community answers between us. And then you could let me know if you want to do all for one, where it's like off the record and we could just chat together in real time here, or if one for all, if I could record a Loom and drop it on your next so that other people can track with the journey as well. So I guess with that, besides stomach flu, Evan, do you have any wins since we've chatted last? Anything going well?
Yeah, the Game of Life community, we just launched our onboarding and started letting people in again. We kind of revamped the uh, whole community, and so yeah, just and you know, my partner guy like kind of did that all yesterday. So I don't exactly know how it's all went, but yeah, we had that all prepared and ready, and so he just went ahead and did it in a live stream, and so that's a win for sure.
Yeah.
We'll see how much of a win it was, but definitely a win nonetheless.
So did you officially relaunched it or just launched it?
Relaunched it. I mean, we already had like 100 people, and uh, and it had just kind of stalled out, and he'd moved on to like a paid community that he was working on, and then I came along and was like, hey, like I'll take this off your hands if you're not doing anything with it, because I was about to do the same thing. And he was like, go for it. And then he was like, actually, I want to do it too. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And so, yeah, we kind of rebuilt it from the ground up and launched it or relaunched it yesterday.
Okay. Awesome. And can you demo that at some point on this call? Like, could you show us what you made?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
that'd
get
be
it ready.
super helpful. Awesome. So we'll do a little demo. And then Sarah, do you have any wins?
Do I have wins? I've had a couple of affiliate like one-on-one calls, like to work with people that offer things that are congruent or complementary to what I do. And they're both on board. So I need to start compiling a list of stuff for that. I need more caffeine still. Other than that, like, I mean, all my calls have gone good. The internet's been shit, but Hubs took care of the call to like the Verizon people, and they're sending a new box and knocked off $30 a month of our like monthly payment. So that's a win. Not really business related, but I will take it.
Oh, internet. So funny.
Such
Hey,
a
it's
pain
all
in the
business.
ass.
It is internet. That's so crazy. Okay,
It's
so for
like
this,
I was able to like make it through all of my one-on-one calls yesterday miraculously. Like there was some lag and whatever, but then wasn't too bad. And then like every time I go to send a loom, oh, that's another thing too. I've been sending looms to people that are asking, like I see various places asking for like conversion help. And
uh-huh.
so, but like I record the loom and then I have to like go check, like, and it's like hours before I can actually like send it. But at least it's, yeah, I'm working through it. It's all good. And then I just saw Will Brenner dropped our interview podcast that he recorded a few weeks ago. So that's another win. Like more visibility or whatever on the platform and to people.
Are you looming on mobile?
No, on the laptop.
On a
I
laptop?
could do it on mobile, but I prefer to do it on laptop when I'm looking at about pages and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So it's just it literally takes that long for your looms to upload that you have to go back and send them over. He's fighting with a chair. Now he's crawling under it. Yeah, I have Loom is a nightmare sometimes with like lost work for me, where I'll just
Yeah.
record a full mobile and then it just stalls forever. Come here, bud. Yeah, he was a fuss bucket all night. We love him. Okay. He's got a squeezy pouch. Very cool. And then so for the affiliate one-on-ones, are you trying to like bring both of your communities together to do a workshop kind of deal, or what's the plan with that?
There's not really a total plan, and it wasn't necessarily to like both join each other's groups and be affiliates for either, although it seems like that's so far how it's working. Like I tell them point blank, like I'm just looking for people that offer what I do not and that I can vet and like we're on similar wavelengths, like no bro marketing bullshit. Like your
Mhm.
offer is actually good. Like because if I can do that for my people and they trust me, right? Like if I give them a recommendation, they trust what I'm saying. So it saves them a shit ton of work and time trying to find something that they need, whether it's, back end GHL help or ads help or like building a team, like whatever, right? So it's more just a bonus for my people, but it's also in making those networking connections and explaining what I do and like, doing that. It seems like it's also going to be the reverse as well. And I wouldn't necessarily mind doing, a monthly call or whatever with the people that I'm connecting with either. It's just, it's very, like, I don't think through all the things and like plan all the things out. I'm just like organically doing it as I go. So that's definitely something that could happen, but I don't know yet.
Sarah, I love how like emergent you are. I think in another chat, I forgot what I wrote late last night. Like you're just very catalytic with how you do stuff, which is completely the opposite of how I approach most strategies and vision. So I'm excited to see where you land with all of that because you're able to quickly pivot into new space as well. First, for me, it's very
Right. Well, that's the thing.
overly
Like
methodical.
I've done the thing before. Like I plan out all this shit and this is how it's
Yeah.
gonna well, like last year, right? Like I came to school to do the homeopathy thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But had I said that this is the only way I'm gonna go, then it would have like fucked all of what's happened in the last year. And like, I wouldn't have made the connections and I wouldn't be helping who I'm helping now. And I like love what I'm doing now even more than I do like the homeopathy and holistic stuff. So it's been intriguing. So it's just, yeah, it behooves me. And I know not everybody moves that way. So like one of the one-on-one people yesterday that I talked to, his focus is more like on sales. right, authentically, but like he has more of like the templates and the structure, right? Whereas I'm just much more flow, and there are several people in my space that want to attain that, but they're not there yet. And so this is a way for them to, I vetted him, he's not a smarmy dude. Like, you can, go do this, and then, we can work through that way, right? I have no problem. Well, just like you, dude, right? Like, I know that you were a good fit for several people on my list, or just people that wanted to hang out because they're big brains, right? Like, yeah, they hang out in my spaces too, but like, come over here. Like, I would rather you work with the people that you really jive with. And if that's not me, that's okay. Right. And just making connections and things like that. So it's been interesting for sure. Taking me a long time to get here, but that's okay.
Really? It seems like it's been quick for you, because it's just been a year on the platform, right? 2 years?
Yeah, but I'm like 43, dude. Like, I've built the businesses before, and yeah, part of that also helps that like I fell into the first one almost by accident and grew it on accident. So like I know, like, if I just, go with the flow and like lean in when shit gets hard, it'll be fine. Like, so there are, echoes of that throughout my whole life, but like the actual like fully just flowing has just been in the last 2 or 3 years probably.
Okay, awesome. So you're like, you know, a decade-long overnight success.
I mean, that's pretty much how normal, like that's how most people do it.
Oh, it's so interesting. Yeah, I recently just gutted everything again, like another round of gutting the classroom just based on insights, and I am just learning how often I've been burned by planning too much and trying to script and polish something that people haven't particularly asked for, as opposed to just asking, like, candidly, where's your pain? Oh, I'm not meeting your pain.
Right.
Let me focus. And it was really quite exciting the last 48 hours to kind of step back. Like, I actually will go into my world for wins, I guess, really quick, because it's a nice tangent. Where's my. No, it's not under leads. Give me a second. I think it's on logistics. Sorry, I know you can't see what I'm doing. Trying to find the right tablet. Oh, I'm not in the right folder. That'll do it. Skool. Here we go. It's like what I worked through. Again, this is kind of planning, but based on all the pain points I had from folks about either being overwhelmed, there's too many updates. Like when I looked at my engagement, it had this huge like climb and peak, and then it died. And I was like, okay, what killed it? What killed it around like day 15 of the challenge? What was too pushy? What was overwhelming? What wasn't clear? And the Find Your Next journey was actually supposed to be like a side piece just to like get people on a wait list for a paid community. So it was originally structured on like help people orient to like what I do in all these different communities. It wasn't the thing. And then I started to realize like it was an engagement hack because everyone has their life really well curated and out there with all the pain and the journey and the aspiration, and then people get energized by that, and we have to kind of recenter the whole community on it. So based on a lot of Evan's feedback that I never responded to you about, I just started working. Was I did a user flow of, the person goes from A to B through this whole thing, from an out page to the infographic, copy VSL, they decide to join, and then what onboarding questions do I ask them, because those weren't optimized with that. And then once they actually have this onboarding banner where it's like, download the app and all that crap, what does that video look like? What does that point towards? The auto DM, what does that point towards? Making sure they point towards the same thing because they were dissonant. And then reflowing the whole classroom to get them that quick win as quickly as possible without all the needless fluff and crap. And also I found it was so much easier to just explain one thing instead of two, because I was teaching people like, hey, do this, find your next post, and let's learn how to say goodbye. And Karen was like, we don't need to learn how to say goodbye. We're already building a business. We said goodbye. So part of that journey that I curated and put a crazy amount of time into, like, I made that for me in some capacity, but I've been collecting people that are at different seasons of life, even beyond where I was in that moment. So the Find Your Next actually works across a larger continuum of big brains, which has been really fun. So the three things I'm focusing on are helping folks feel like they could belong right away, and then helping them do the assessment themselves. So after they immerse in these, the hope is that it's building culture where they're like, oh, this is the work people have put into this post. This is valuable for me. Now let me put in the same level of work for my Find My Next. And then drive them into the wait list. Provide like a soft pitch of just context on what I do for other folks in different levels. So it's kind of like a, what do you call it when you're selling a car? It's like a trial close. I don't expect people at this point to be 100% ready to jump to pro. Evan was an exception when you filled it out for reasons we're still figuring out why you came here. And so was Lauren. Like, they were the first two people that immediately said, like, yeah, I want to join pro. What's going on here? Even though the copy and stuff wasn't perfect. But the goal here is to just get a light, loose gauge of interest and then equip them to bring a friend as quickly as possible so that they have the accountability on their journey as well. And then eventually I drive them to like an IFU, which is instructions for use, where over time they could gradually get different pro tips on how to actually build the life they desire faster. So that way it gets all the clutter and all the noise out of the way. And then if they want to work with me one-on-one, or if they want to jump up to pro, or if they want to do affiliates, like all that stuff's later after the meet.
Trying to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I liked everything up until like so the soft launch pitch. That's where you want to have customer segmentations. So at that point, you're going to know where people are in life, and so at that point, instead of a single soft pitch, that you should have you know different ones depending on where they are in life. And identify what that one thing is that they're going to need at that stage. Because I mean, based on what I saw, it's like, yeah, it kind of missed the mark somewhat, but it was still close enough to where it's like, okay, that's what I need. But yeah, you really want to like land on their pain point right where they are, and so having a single pitch is never gonna work. So figuring out like 3 to 4 like main areas that you can target, and then the bring a friend. One of those groups of people is going to be the people that don't have a support network. They don't have a friend to bring, and so their solution is going to be that they need a friend, and that's going to be like what you're pitching, and for that group, do your best to, even in the light, first thing, like point out like, hey, I think this person would be really good. You guys should connect with one another, and then that solves the same problem. You give them the accountability, and then they're like locked in here, right? Because like now they've got the one thing they needed. Which is a friend.
Because that's why they'll stay, right? Is they either find someone here or they bring someone in that they know.
Yeah.
But that's actually really helpful insight just for me to be more inclusive with how I do this video, because I almost assume that people have real world friends somewhere they could bring to this platform, and I show them how to do it. But there are some people that are just 100% isolated, like they're fully red on their triangle. So that's an area that I could be kinder in how I bring them into that third step. And that's a hex code for my colors. But cool. So yeah, this is what I was building. This is kind of my win. So I'm piloting the first half of it. And then we'll see how that works for engagement with new folks that we get back to office hours. Cool. So then, does anybody have any blockers? Any pain?
Besides the damn internet. Yeah.
I mean, I love it.
I've taken on too much, I think, or not really. Just my attention is too dispersed. Like I'm working with people, and nothing's like actually my own thing. So now, like being beckoned in all these different areas, I'm trying to figure out how to manage that. Because I'm not really in control of what I'm doing. So it's going back to more that employee life, which is not what I wanted. So I need to kind of set my own terms, but need to get control of all the things that like need to happen so that I can then control them.
Okay, Evan, let's jump into your next because I have so many questions around that. Let me find. Oh, 1 second. Yeah, great.
So you've done everything that you've done with just within the past year, Sarah? Like moved up to, conquering Skool and making all of the things that you've done. That's pretty
Yep.
impressive.
And I don't have a schedule and I don't do a to-do list and I don't do any of that. I
Yeah,
just
and
show up.
and that's awesome. That's how I've been doing things, but now it's like starting to get in bed with too many people or whatever. Now it's like, okay, like I gotta be
Yeah,
where I
but
said I would.
kudos to you for realizing it. Most people just burn themselves the fuck out and then they're like, well, whatever. But you're like realizing it so then you can figure out what boundaries you need to set for yourself and what you want to do and what you don't want to do and like narrow that down so that you enjoy what you're doing while also being financially, moving up and that kind of thing, which is
Yeah,
amazing, dude.
yeah. I mean, that's definitely my superpower is being super like self-aware. It doesn't ever really, it doesn't necessarily pan out to anything, but I can always tell what's going on right and what's going on wrong. What to do about it is an entirely different story.
It's all good, dude. Most people aren't that aware and they don't have that. And then they're just like they wake up in a mess and it's bad.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. I had a nice grandma intermission about what's for dinner. It was great. Um, so Evan, I have so many curiosities about your story and what you're building towards and what you do. Um, you can get to this on your own time when you have margin.
Hmm.
But the first piece, the insight you're kind of discussing is like you're taking on too much. Nothing is on your own. Like you feel out of control. So I was curious if I could record a loom and we could just baseline like what exactly are you doing right now, and then figure out what we need to shift focus on.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me press the magic button, and then we can talk about Akio. All right. Magic button. Let me see if this works. And then we want this screen. And then it should start. Hope it works. Okay, cool. So I'll just ask again, Evan, now that I have a magic loom going. Like what is your daily grind right now concerning like where cash is coming from and what we're working on? Because right now you're more in the employee sector, but it seems like you're consulting. So if you could just
Yeah.
quickly catch me up on how you pay your bills, and then we
Sure.
can figure out what we aspire to next.
Yeah. So I mean, I joined in with this group of service providers around Notion. So and we've kind of tiered it to where everybody has their own specialty, and I mirrored that in the Game of Life group that I'm also working with. And so ultimately, you're either attracting, converting, or delivering the services. And so, I mean, I'm on delivery for both of these groups. And so I pretty much just, build the solutions within Notion. I don't necessarily have to go hunt down, the people that want it, and I don't have to sell it to them. I just, oh, what do they need? Cool, I'll build that. Cool, I'll build this. I'll build that. Which works well for me. But then again, I'm not in control of like what the whole front stream of things, which I don't want to be. But then, when things come down the pipeline too quickly or, all at the same time, then it's on my neck to make sure that all of these things get fulfilled and there's not much room to push back because they've already been sold in and those kind of things. So I just need to better communicate with my team, like what my capacity is and those kind of things, or go get out there and find other people to join the delivery team, and that way we can continue growing the business. Right now, I need to figure out, how all of that's going to work.
Okay, that provides some context. So you're basically doing Notion consulting for two communities.
Well, yeah,
So you're
the
building the
the
apps,
game of life
basically.
one's less of a Notion oriented thing. It's more like we're teaching people to use the same kind of structure for their school communities for whatever they're in. Having this 3-part kind of team dynamic where you all work together. And so I'm doing it, in real life with the Notion provider people, and then taking my learnings there and teaching it to others as far as how to work together, but still treat it like a game where you're, each kind of working as a member of a party to, slay the boss or whatever, which would just be like the next project that kind of comes down. get the project, all of those kind of things.
Okay, excellent. Could you demo the game of life?
Yeah, let me
Let me
share.
unshare my screen really quick. Stop presenting. You have the floor.
Okay.
This is really helpful context.
Mhm. So let's see. So yeah, this one is that's fine. So yeah, we have the game of life, school community, and so we've got kind of come in here. But yeah, the game of life, and then the idea is to have people come in and get to know our team and the way that we're set up. Come on.
Your thumbnails are awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, Lucas and I are big nerds, so we draw upon that quite a bit. And so the idea is that you have like three main classes, which we were calling them like the tank, the DPS, and then like the support character, but people didn't necessarily know what like DPS meant and stuff. So we've kind of renamed them to Knight, being the one that the marketing side of things where they attract people to their banner. And then you have the Ranger, which is a person who converts and understands the people that we get in and kind of the customer support kind of aspect of things and converts them. So it's sales, customer experience kind of thing. And then on the back end, we have me as the delivering the solutions once they're a part of things, whether that be like teaching or whether that be solution building or whether it be holding their hand or getting them a product, whatever part of delivery that may actually be. That would be the wizard. And so then you kind of form a party or a business around a particular topic of interest. And so the Game of Life community is to get people in, identify where their special powers are, and then unite them under a single banner around like holisticness or whatever their interest is in. And so yeah, right now this is just kind of like the free community to bring people together and then teach them how to like work together and form little miniature businesses that they can grow with these kind of three main uh, portions of the business that they can then get new. And the idea is as they progress through the game of life, we're connecting with other school communities in which we can like hand them off to as far as like, oh, okay, well, you're interested in this topic. Here's other people that you can find that are interested in this. And you guys can become like the mentors and get new apprentices and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
That's very helpful. And then can you walk through some of the other like community aspects or the maybe more in the classroom on where you take them from meet the team?
Sure. So from here, we have a Notion template that it helps them get situated. Let's see if takes us to the right place. And so this is my job currently is building out this template better. Lucas had one that he was working on, and so I'm taking it and adding all the bells and whistles from my Notion wizardom. But yeah, so here, yeah, you got like levels, and so like as you complete quests, which would be things like here's go complete this school community's quest line or whatever, go complete their classroom, or we have our own classroom activities around figuring out in game of life. It's all focused on like, okay, what are your interests, what are you good at, like the ikigai kind of stuff. Let's
Mm-hmm.
help people figure out their ikigai. And so I think right now we kind of pulled most of it. Let's see. And so yeah, whether and they can log their journey. So you have like your journal, your daily journal, to kind of keep track of everything, your ideas for, you know, coming up with things. Then you get your guides to, uh, in each area of your life. Who do you like? Who are your mentors? Who do you idolize around each one of these areas? Um, and then, then yeah, we can kind of keep track of like, okay, based on the things that you do, the quests that you complete, and like the ideas that you come up with, and your journals, you kind of get experience points in different aspects of life. And so you kind of you level up different, you know, parts of your life, and that way you can see like in your chart, like where, you know, where you're excelling, where, you know, kind of like the wheel of balance kind of thing. We have that here, and so that's the idea behind it.
And then this is all in free?
Yeah, all of this so far, yeah. And then the paid piece comes into, so yeah, like the whole life Ikigai stuff, that's all free and getting people there. And then if they need help, like, okay, well, this is nice and all, but how do I actually start a business and those kind of things? We have another school group called Team Unity, and so that's like once they get to, this is the first part of the game, you know, hey, start a character, you know, get through the first little tutorial parts. But then like the mid part of the game is like, okay, here, work with others, like join a party and like start taking on, you know, small, like beat the campaign kind of thing to one boss after another. And then like the end game is like, yeah, join up with, you know, we have teams like compete against one another and like kind of do like the join the raid kind of thing where it's like, okay, yeah, we have multiple school groups or multiple teams working together to tackle like big life problems, um, or you know, and outside of that, kind of like miniature competitions between school groups or teams like within our school group. Um, as far as yeah, like we can connect if ever as long as everybody's using Notion, then we no longer are restricted to schools like single community kind of thing. Now we can do community versus community or community with community, and span across that. And so we can give rewards, keep track of things here within Notion, instead of Skool. And then the Unity template um, gives people the ability to do rewards and like hand out uh, different levels of experience kind of thing, outside of just the likes and engagement things that Skool has. Since you can measure like, okay, how much of the classroom that have they gone through, how many of the quests that have they completed, then you can issue out different rewards and that kind of thing through Notion, instead of being restricted to whatever Skool comes out with.
So you want members to predominantly spend time in the Notion versus engaging on Skool because you could do
Um,
more on the back end.
Yes and no. I mean, we have it where I scrape Skool. Well, once you get into the Team Unity piece, um, if a community signs up with our Team Unity kind of thing, then we automatically scrape their classrooms to figure out like, okay, like how much of the classroom people have done based on like check marks and stuff. So, um, you know, they can still live within Skool primarily, but this is like their journaling and stuff like that, um, is just like in addition to. So, uh, yeah, I mean, primarily we don't like people like Skool. We don't want to take them out of Skool. Everything they do in Skool is counted, and they can spend as much time in there as they want. But outside of that, like to keep track of their ideas and, you know, like personally, like we also have the Notion template, and then you can keep as much of it private as you want, and then to make things public, you just drag it from here into like another area, which I don't exactly fully have set up to show you, but you
Mhm.
just kind of like drag it from here to like here to public, and then it'll count it for everybody. So then they can't necessarily see all of like the private information that you put in there. It just shows us like, hey, yes, I've completed this quest, and here's like everything has like some sort of deliverable. And so yes, you can see the deliverable piece of it, which isn't like full of like private information, just like, yep, here's the thing, and here's a picture of me doing the thing or whatever. And so then it gets counted, and then you get your community level rewards um, that then everybody can kind of see and show like what your level is and whatnot.
This is very interesting. Are you trying to ascend folks into other paid communities you own, or are you trying to ascend them into affiliate communities that you get a cut on based on what's best for the development, or is it like a hybrid?
It's a hybrid. I mean, like by the end of this, I'll have my own like personal Skool community that will help people on the delivery side, and then the team unity thing is Lucas's thing, and so um, yeah, we'll each have our own private Skool community that we can ascend people to. But on top of that, yeah, anybody that like pays to join like team unity or like wants to be, because part of this will also be like marketing, right? So anybody that we get in here will be like part of our community or community of communities, and then we would get affiliates for like people ascending into one of their communities, and it would be like a form of marketing for them because we'll be out there kind of gathering together gamers and teaching them like about Skool and how to start a business. But if they need help on like any aspect of life, then there would be these other communities in here that they could see that they might be interested in, and to kind of get the affiliate as we hand them off to them.
Excellent. Sarah, do you have thoughts? I'm in sponge mode right now, Evan. So I'm just critically thinking about what you're kind of pulling together and where it fits into your aspirations. Sorry, I caught Sarah mid bite on breakfast.
Yeah, people like to do that often. um, so what will your paid group explain what your paid group will be, Evan, eventually? No.
It's kind of unclear at the moment, where I have so many like
You're multi-passionate. Yep.
yeah, exactly. So no, it'll be where I feel like there's a need. And right now, what I'm doing for Notion Wizards is all free. I'm the moderator there, but I have quite a bit of background in community building and community like admin aspects of things, and then on top of that, like what building solutions. So I could train people in Notion, I could train people in community building, I could train people in math, like those kind of things, or designing games. I'm a big gamification nerd. I can gamify like anything, gamify my life all the time. And then yeah, like parenting. There's just a lot of things that I'm passionate about that may end up creating multiple communities. I don't know, but at the moment, really just kind of getting this groundwork laid, because yeah, everything by myself has always like fallen apart. Just like don't I get too on an island, and then it's just like everything's going well, but I decided to give up because it's just like too overwhelming. And so this time around, like focusing on partnerships uh, with everything, and that's kind of where this whole mentality came out, where it's just like, look, it's always too much to do everything by yourself. Let's start the game of life by connecting you with people and finding your little tripod, and then go build your kingdom or
This thing.
whatever after that.
Right. Yeah, no, I feel you. Like I am very similar as far as like being multi-passionate, right? Well, that's where I was last year before I started coaching other people, because it was like people were asking, why don't you start a holistic herbs, group? Oh, you should do a group about homeschooling. You should do a group about homesteading. And I'm like, yeah, I could. But then I was realizing that I really love coaching other people, right? And seeing them pursue their dreams and their passion. Um, Two things stuck out. I don't know people, not many people in my sphere, like work with Notion, right?
Hmm.
And something that I think would be really valuable is like being able to help people like learn the benefits of it and get plugged in with Notion, right? And then also the gamification aspect of it, right? So like a lot of people don't know how to run good challenges in their groups or good games, you know, and
Mhm.
how that affects engagement and stuff like that. So that's something to like percolate on. Like you can combine the Notion stuff and the gamification stuff and really have a good offer that I haven't seen much of on Skool, right? And then you add your own flair to it and your love for what you do, and it could be fucking amazing.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the big, high up on the list of as far as things that could happen. Yeah, because it's kind of why I joined admins because uh, thought that like she was doing a good job at teaching people all like the different ways that you can participate and help in a community. And yeah, like the gamification piece and the engagement piece is still something I just don't see uh, people really leveraging. And then on top of that, like I've been in market research for my entire life, and so really all of this comes down to like, well, I only like gamifying things because it gives me a reason to record data about your life, about whatever the situation is, and yeah, motivates people to like you know, collect things that wouldn't necessarily usually write down or keep track of. But then once you do have that, then you get all of the benefits of like trend tracking and identifying things. So yeah, I think mostly the biggest win I think for a community I could start is around yeah teaching people how to use gamification to improve engagement and then create customer segmentations and yeah then convert and all of those things. But
Right. So
yeah.
that's something like when and if you do that, because that's what I thought maybe this game of life situation was like teaching people how to use Notion and to use it in their businesses and stuff like that, because of based on what you and I have talked about before. But if and when you do that, then you and I are going to need to chat because I will have people to send your way that will be interested in doing that, that prefer to, you know, that aren't as flow like, right, as me, and like prefer to have like everything in one spot and to have the visible steps on what next to do, right? And I'm not a tech person. Like I'm not great with software and things like that. So if I can send people there that want to learn that and you have easy to understand and implement manner, you know, your all of that stuff you have in your brain, you're able to spit it out in easy to follow steps, that would be fucking amazing.
Yeah, and I only shared my uh, browser window, and I can't jump over to my other Notion spaces. But yeah, I mean, I have like so many tools and so many things that can work together to progress people through that. And so, yeah, right now for me, it's you're getting through these things with these other people. So I have like a steady stream of income, and I have a steady stream of people to sell things to, then I can focus on like, okay, well, all of that's working now. Let me actually build something for myself that kind of stands in between all of those things. But that's pretty much all I have to share. So I'm going to go
E-
ahead and
Evan,
stop that.
that's very helpful. Lingering thoughts I have. Let me see if I could share my screen. Meanwhile, my daughter's asking for seaweed snacks, so we'll see how this all works out. Uh, Buttons, all the buttons. Might have lost. Oh, cool! I still got my screen share. So, what I'm struggling with, I'm just trying to like map it in my head, right? So you have this is the game of life, and then you have potential verticals you could put people to. You have the Notion vertical, you have the Waigami vertical, you have all the affiliates of what's best for someone's life, affiliate, like finding the powerhouse communities on this platform that people just need to join instead. Like a lot of
Mhm.
people I'm connecting with, they keep asking me like, how do you make engagement work? Because it's starting to work. And I'm like, well, I could tell you, or you could just use my link to Calvin Hollywood's group because 86% of what I learned is from him, and then the rest is my secret sauce, right? So like, I think this makes sense. The curiosity I have is if this game of life is the most like efficient leads magnet for you. In other words, if someone really wants to do your Waigami community, if you start to build towards that, and I still want to understand like your branding and what you're trying to do, is passing through this community you're curating into this the best way for them to get the value, or do you have to position this community differently and pass people a different path, or if it's both? Because it feels a little scattered. Like, I don't know if the people you attract to this tool and what's necessary to get value from it would ascend to this world or not. I could kind of see
the
this
best
more.
way.
Yeah.
It's the best way for like hands off. Well, wise like the like
Mm-hmm.
brand new people that don't like are starting the game of life. It's like I need to ascend them to the level to where like they're qualified enough to want what I have. Um, and if they're already qualified, then I don't need the marketing funnel. I don't need Lucas's help. I can just go and do direct outreach already. And so that's how I get people for my current business, for, those kind of things. I just join groups and identify people that I could help, and do direct outreach. So then at that point, I am doing the ranger job, uh, sales and conversion, and I can do that just fine. But the only piece that of the puzzle I hate doing is marketing. I don't like talking to the masses. I don't know how to do that. Like everybody's different, so like how you really supposed to just put blanket outreach out there, or just to like raise your brand awareness. I hate that aspect of things. Um, so
Sorry,
I,
that's my world. I love that world. So I'm glad to hear.
I hate it. I hate it. Well, tell me how to do it. I just like, yeah, the content pieces. I don't know. It always just feels so fake. Like since I'm not talking to anyone in particular, it feels like I'm not talking to anybody. And that is how it is. But it's like, so I'm supposed to like target a certain audience, but then I don't know, all of it feels so fake. And I hate it. And so this way is a way to get people that I know, speak my language because they're around gaming, or my gamer group.
Mhm.
And at least I know that, yeah, I mean, all of this works because it's around, a topic of interest, something that is already going to unite you together with your audience. And then, okay, well, now that you found those people, who can you actually help? And so that's kind of where I come in, where whoever comes in, but at least you've got your pool of people that are already, inclined to want to listen to you because they're interested in the same things as you.
Mhm. Oh, this is wonderful, Evan. I have so much to think about. So little
I mean,
time.
it's very similar to what you have. You just chose the big brains as your pool. Mine's just gamers because that's
Ah,
who I resonate with.
I think I want to unpack this a tiny bit. And then because we only have like 14 minutes left or so, I've done 1,900 short form pieces of content in the last 5 years. I've done like 20 million views, a community of 40,000 folks. But that was the language I always used. And then when I came to Skool, I realized I had a community of no one. Like, content creation is very challenging because you could amass followers, but interconnecting them and ascending them can be challenging and not linear the way that we think. So, what gets views and virality doesn't necessarily drive people to your ikigai kind of business that you're curating. So, it's an area where I've been stretched and growing, and I ended up trying to figure out like, how do I provide a killer product as a leads magnet, like the Find Your Next assessment? How do I make the Big Brain Club so epic that I just want to talk about it and show people what's going on inside? And I haven't done content creation in the last month because I've put so much focus on engagement and launching this group and getting the Big Brain Pro off the ground with all of you. Um, so I understand putting a lot of emphasis here because this feels similar to like you want to curate something great to bring people to and then figure out how to segment them off into this. And there's variety and kind of a respect for the nuance of everyone's journey that they're trying to gamify is different and leads to different pathways or different quests, to use kind of your language. There, there's still really great ways to bring people into the story of what you're building that's authentic and not salesy and not phony. You just probably hate things you see on your feed that try to drive conversion because it's ucky. Whereas if you bring people into your journey as a solo father and an entrepreneur and a Notion wizard, and that you just are so passionate about blending these aspects of pathfinding with origami and fitting pieces together, like you have a story to tell. And it's really building the craft on how do you do it consistently and authentically where you like making content. And that will attract people that won't even necessarily need this path. They might just be like, I would love to pay Evan for this.
Mhm.
And then you get scale. The problem is figuring out how to like speak on brand.
Yeah.
And like I'm getting hints of it. Like you've given me great context in your Find Your Next post. Compared to everyone else in this community, you have put the most time into it, which is magnificent. And I keep kind of circling back over it. And I think what you'll have to work on is across being multi-gifted or multi-interested, or I forgot the exact language that Sarah used. You have to learn how to speak very succinctly and get comfortable saying the same darn thing over
Mhm.
and over and over again, because every piece of content is a new handshake. And it's also a lottery ticket, right? You never know what will pique the right interest and bring the right people into your ecosystem. But you also have to keep the lights on. So there's a lot I need to unpack on future calls with you, just around like finances and the risks you could take. That's also homework on the post that you did last time. Like I added a video there that's like 14 minutes as well. I have lots of lingering questions there. But thank you for expanding upon this and letting me record it as a loom, because hopefully it provides rich context to everybody else as well on what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
I have so many curiosities about what you're doing in all the fun ways. Okay, I'm going to end this loom, and then otherwise I'll forget. Let me find the magic button. And oh, you need confetti. We have to do confetti in this
Whee!
community, or we don't get the dopamine necessary to move forward. All right. Excellent. And I'll drop that on your Find Your Next. But yeah, any other lingering thoughts over the next 3 or so minutes? Otherwise, I could just share like updates and announcements with the two of you.
No, thanks for that. That was good. It's useful to kind of walk through things. And it's all still just coming together. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Any thoughts you have? I know what I want
Yeah,
to have happen, but don't necessarily know how to get there. So,
yeah. I want to get you to Scandinavia.
yeah.
With your son, that's so awesome. Yeah, we'll get you to Scandinavia. We'll get me to Japan. It'll all work out, and Sarah can get all her tiny houses when we win. Right? It'll be fantastic.